Hi everyone, this is Emily Graybill. I want to confirm that you all can hear me. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, Carol. Great. Thank you, Angela, for letting me know that you can hear me. So my name is Emily Graybill, and I'm a faculty member here at the Center for Leadership and Disability, and I will be joining you this summer at the AUCD Leadership Academy. And I'm very excited about the Academy, and I'm also excited about the webinar that we have for you today. So today is the second of 3 pre-Academy webinars, and today we'll be talking about strengths-based leadership. And we are joined by leadership expert Sonia Tinsley-Hook, who will be describing strengths and why they are important in leadership. And then we'll spend some time at the end of the webinar walking you through the strengths-based survey that you will be taking in preparation for the Academy this summer. So I'm going to turn the webinar over to Sonia Tinsley-Hook in just a moment, and after she speaks to you for a little while, then we'll pause for questions. Today we're going to use the hand-raising feature to take questions, and I'll explain that a little bit more when it's time for questions. Of course, at any time you can type in questions in the question box. And we then, after we take questions after Sonia speaks, then I will provide you with some information about the logistics of taking the strengths survey, and then we'll open it up for additional questions. So I will now turn it over to Sonia.
Hi, everyone. And I am really excited to not only be here with you today, but also looking forward to having some time with you in person later in June. Well, it's actually not June yet, but when it is June, so that we can go in even deeper with the knowledge that you will then have about your strengths after taking the assessment. But today we're going to just do a general introduction and talk about leading with strengths and inspiring strengths in others. So, the questions we will be talking about today: what are strengths and why are they important? Those will be on the red slides. Then we'll move into why should strengths matter to me as a leader on the orange slides. And then we will get into the actual VIA Character Strengths Survey and talk about the question, what is the VIA Character Strengths Survey and how will it help me? And then finally, how do I take the VIA Character Strengths Survey, where we will look at the actual logistics of how you will take the survey and then share your results. So, where to begin? The first question is, what are strengths and why are they important? And strengths is a term that gets thrown around, and it means lots of different things. And sometimes we think that a strength is simply something that we're good at. And many of us are even afraid of finding out what our strengths are because we're afraid that our strengths might be things that we don't actually like to do. Well, you can be relieved to know that the way in which we will be using strengths will always include the fact that these are behaviors and activities that feel natural to you, that feel authentic. So your strengths are not simply things that you're good at. They're also things that make you feel good and make you feel stronger while you're doing them. So, looking at the slide, your strengths are behaviors or qualities, which, yes, you perform really well. But again, they feel natural and authentic to you. When you're doing them, you feel like you're being yourself. They're the ways you make a positive contribution in your relationships with other people, whether personally or professionally. And they're the ways you make a contribution, a positive contribution on a team. And again, Strengths, in the sense that we're talking about them today, feel enjoyable and energizing to you. Now, some common truths about strengths. Well, as we've already said, there are many kinds of strengths, and we will be focusing specifically on character strengths today, and we'll get into more about what that means. But here's some important basic truths that we are going to base everything that we do. We'll base everything that we do together on these common truths. We're accepting that there are many kinds of strengths. We all have some strengths. So there's not a person alive who does not have some strengths. We all have different strengths and different combinations of strengths. And not one of us has every strength in the same degree. No matter how wonderful or talented a person is in one area, none of us are equally talented in every area. Not one of us has all the strengths, and that's really important to remember. All strengths are needed and valuable. This will be important to remember when you actually get your strengths results back, because sometimes we all get a little bit of what I would call strengths envy. We think perhaps there are better strengths to have, or that maybe our strengths aren't as important as some other strengths that we see in other people. But the reason they're strengths at all is because they're valuable and they make a positive contribution. So whatever strengths you have are necessary and valuable. And the purpose of a team is to share our different strengths with each other to accomplish a common goal. The reason we work with other people is because none of us has all the strengths that are necessary to do the things that need to be done in our work and in the world and in our communities. So we come together to share our strengths. So when you're using your strengths, even if you never took an assessment, you could think back in your life and realize that there are signs that are available to you that let you know when you're using your strengths or when your strengths are in play. So when you're using your strengths, you're likely to have some of these thoughts. I could do this all day. Oh, this makes me happy. I would like to learn more about this. I want to find a way to do more of this. This is my calling. When can I do this again? This is fun. When we use our strengths, sometimes we lose track of time. We get really absorbed in what we're doing. They're the things sometimes that we can't help doing, or that people don't even have to ask us to do because we want to do it. The flip side of that is how we feel when we're not using our strengths or when our strengths are not appreciated, because sometimes we're in environments where we're using our strengths but they're not valued. But when we're not using our strengths, we tend to have these kinds of thoughts. We say things like, I hate this. This is going to take forever. Who else can I get to do this instead? This is so boring. I hope I don't have to do this again. And the classic, why me? So when you find yourself having these kinds of thoughts, chances are you're in a situation where you're really not getting to put your own personal strengths into play, or perhaps you're in an environment where your strengths, the ways that you naturally think and behave, are not appreciated and valued. So we don't just care about people's strengths because we want to be nice. Sure, it's nice to care about people's strengths, but it's also really important because decades of research has demonstrated that using our strengths is really essential for creating some very important positive outcomes. These outcomes include positive relationships with others. So we have positive relationships with people who appreciate us for who we are and who we are able to appreciate them for who they are. And so strengths play a big part in the types of relationships we have with other people. Whether or not we're even aware of the concept of strengths, they still are impacting our relationships. Using our strengths and appreciating strengths in others increases improves the quality of our communication, improves our ability to understand other people. Using our strengths, going back to that language about how it makes us happy. So using our strengths creates positive emotions. When we're using our strengths, we learn faster. We're more creative and resourceful in the areas of our strengths. Using our strengths is energizing to us. So the more that we use our strengths, the less likely we are to burn out, the more motivated we are to continue with activities and projects that make good use of our strengths, the more engaged we are. So all of those outcomes are connected to using strengths. Resilience is connected to using our strengths. Again, because strengths are energizing, because they create positive emotions inside of us, we are more resilient. We bounce back faster when we use our strengths. They really help us to heal and to get back up on our feet again and try again. Because of that, it really makes sense that using our strengths increases our ability to successfully accomplish goals, and it improves our performance. Again, because we like using our strengths, we're more likely to carry on, to persevere, to try harder, to try again. And one of my favorite pieces of research connected to strengths is connected to the sense of purpose and meaning we feel. So there have been some interesting studies that show that what we call having a sense of calling or a sense of purpose has a connection to being able to use our primary strengths within a particular role or activity. So the more that we're using our signature strengths, the more likely we are to feel that this is what we're meant to be doing, that this is the right job for us or the right role. So again, all of these are very important positive outcomes. Knowing our strengths gives us a type of power. So because strengths are what they are, even if you don't know what your strengths are, you're already using them. They're a part of who you are. You can't not use them. They're the things that people see in you. You will find them in the compliments you receive from other people, the ways that you're already showing up and providing value, making a positive contribution in your community, in your work, in your home, in your relationships. However, once you become aware of your strengths and are able to name them and to actively leverage them, then you can intentionally create opportunities and environments that bring out the best in yourself and also that help you to bring out the best in others. And as leaders, that's something we're always trying to do. We're trying to do our best, but we're also trying to inspire other people to join us, to help us accomplish a goal. So knowing and using strengths helps us to flourish and to be successful and thrive. But it also helps us to be able to call out those positive qualities in others. So just to recap what we just discussed in terms of what are strengths and why are they important. In a nutshell, strengths are just the best parts of who we are. They are the behaviors and qualities that we do well and that feel energizing and natural to us. We know now that using our strengths is essential for creating many important positive outcomes, including positive relationships, engagement, and having a sense of purpose and meaning, just to name a few. And when we're aware of the power of our strengths, we can help ourselves and others experience greater success and well-being. So in our next set of slides, we're going to talk about why strengths should matter to us as leaders. And this is not a difficult case to make after talking about all the positive outcomes that are related to strengths. As leaders, what we ultimately want is for people to contribute their strengths. You want people to contribute the best of themselves, the best that they have to offer in order to accomplish a common goal. and people's strengths are the best that they have to offer. So as a leader, we are always trying to encourage and inspire people to be engaged, to be motivated, to give us their best performance, to put in the extra effort. And all those things are related to being able to inspire those people to offer their strengths. Again, effective leaders value and encourage strengths. Sometimes we can get the sense that we only care about strengths because we want to be nice. But again, we care about strengths because we want to be effective. An effective leader is always trying to encourage people to use their strengths because of the things we've mentioned already, because of their connection to motivation, learning, positive relationships, improved communication, the sense of purpose, the enthusiasm and passion that people show when they're using their strengths, and the increased ability to accomplish goals. Why should strengths matter to me as a leader or to you as a leader? Because we want people to contribute the best that they have to offer. We want people to work together and contribute their strengths to accomplish a common goal. And again, people's strengths are always the best that they have to offer. And all the positive outcomes that we care about creating as effective leaders are connected to being able to recognize and use our own strengths, of course, but also to inspire other people to contribute their strengths to the goal that we're trying to accomplish. So here's where we get into what the VIA Character Strengths Survey is really about. So the next set of slides will focus on what is the VIA Character Strengths Survey and how will it help me. So what is the VIA Character Strengths Survey? It's a scientifically validated self-assessment tool that helps individuals determine their top strengths out of a list of 24 character strengths that are valued in almost every culture. And I understand you've had an opportunity, many of you, to watch a video that gives a little bit of the story and the history of the Character Strengths Survey. But it's the result of decades of research by some of the world's most respected psychologists and social scientists, including Dr. Martin Seligman, who was former president of the American Psychological Association and is also commonly referred to as the father of positive psychology, and the late Dr. Chris Peterson, who is also held in high esteem for his contributions to the branch of positive psychology. Character strengths really is the backbone of the positive psychology movement because it's all about focusing on what's right with people, asking what makes people thrive, when people do well, when people flourish, why, so that we can hopefully replicate those circumstances in our homes, in our families, in our schools, in our communities. We really want to be able to help more people thrive and flourish. And a big piece of that is helping people get in touch with what's good in them and what's strong in them. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the VIA character strengths. So here is a chart that shows the 24 VIA character strengths. And again, these are things in the research that was done to create the VIA survey. These are qualities that have been shown across religious faiths, across cultures, across historical time periods to be consistently valued within human organizations, within communities, within families. So when you take the VIA survey, you get a list of when you take the VIA Character Strengths Survey, what you get is a list of your top strengths out of these 24 strengths that are valued across human cultures. It's really important to remember that you have all of the strengths. And so no matter where any of the strengths fall in your rank order of 24, you really couldn't function as a human being if you didn't use all of them at least some of the time. We are all creative some of the time. We all love. We are all brave some of the time. We all demonstrate teamwork some of the time. So it's not about saying that any of us don't have these strengths, but some of these strengths really show up in us very consistently. They're really how we show up to other people, perhaps how other people would describe us, and they're also very energizing to us when we use them. And those are what we will end up talking about as our signature strengths. When you get your results back, you will find that some are grouped at the top, your top 5 to 7 strengths, and those are really known as your signature strengths, the ones that you rely on the most often. Like we said previously, these are the strengths that feel most natural to you and really represent you at your best. So as an example, all of us can be funny sometimes, but someone who has this character strength, the signature strength of humor, is probably described as being funny. Oh, she's so funny, or he's so funny. Again, we get a lot of information about our strengths, often in how people that are close to us or that we work with react to us. We think about the people that we call kind, the people that we call creative. In a way, we have been naming and calling out strengths in other people our whole lives. But this is a tool that really helps us create a common vocabulary around it and really helps us to be more intentional in leveraging the power of those strengths. Using your signature strengths in particular, so we all use all 24 of these strengths, but it's using your signature strengths, that's where you find the energy and the fulfillment. And again, using at least 4 of your signature strengths in a role is what provides that sense of purpose and right fit in your role. What's important about that information is that then you can look at any role that you're in and think about, how can I apply my signature strengths in this role? If it's something I want to do and that I want to be successful at, then I can ask myself, how can I create opportunities to be a leader, or to use my prudence, or to use my sense of teamwork in this role in order to make it feel right for me, but also in order to make the best contribution to others. So we're going to take a few minutes here to actually go through each of the 24 strengths individually, because most of us, and I'm speaking for myself, when you take an assessment, you're really mostly interested in your own results and what are your top 5, and what are my top 5, what are my bottom 5, and certain strengths, especially the ones that really aren't our signature strengths, we might not even be interested in. So we can forget to actually become familiar with the whole list of 24. But part of being an effective leader as you use this tool in your ongoing work will be to learn to recognize strengths in other people, particularly the strengths that aren't your signature strengths. So we're going to take this opportunity now to briefly review what each of the 24 strengths means and represents. So the first one, these are in alphabetical order, by the way. So the first one is appreciation of beauty and excellence. People who have this strength, appreciation of beauty and excellence, notice and admire things that are beautiful or excellent. They like to improve things. They are inspired by examples of people doing great things. They experience awe and fulfillment from seeing people do things well, and often they want to try to create that in their work or to make things better. Bravery. People who have the strength of bravery are energized by standing up for what they believe in spite of the challenges, They don't let fear stop them from doing what they believe needs to be done. Again, as we are going through each of the 24, take a minute to notice as we're going through the 24, which ones of these really speak to you, or maybe you have a favorite. Sometimes just the one that's most interesting to you becomes a sign of a signature strength. And that's a great thing to do before you take the assessment, is to guess what your signature strengths might be. My daughter, who is 10, I've been talking to her about these strengths her whole life, and she always said that her favorite was bravery. She loves bravery, and she used to say, I hope bravery will be my top strength when I'm old enough to take this. And when she took it after her 10th birthday, bravery was indeed her number one strength. And so often we are attracted to and drawn to strengths that we have in ourselves.
Your daughter, right at the beginning of the story.
We might be having some technical difficulty. Can we see some hands raised if you can still hear me? I can't really see that, so I'm going to rely on Emily to tell me if you can hear.
Okay, thank you everyone for raising your hand. So we're gonna keep going. Sonia's gonna repeat the story about her daughter because we heard we lost audio right before then.
Sorry to make you hear the story about my daughter twice. But my point was just that oftentimes we are just attracted to the strengths that are our own, even before we take the assessment and know what our strengths are. So my daughter, before she was old enough to take this assessment, but when she was just learning about strengths, would often say, oh, I love bravery. I hope bravery is my top strength. I want bravery to be my top strength. And when she was old enough to take the youth version at age 10, it turned out that bravery was indeed her top strength. So again, we are often attracted to the strengths that turn out to be our signature strengths. And we can also learn a lot about our own strengths from what we admire in other people. So you might want to think about the heroes that you have and the qualities and strengths that they embody, because we often really respect people who have the strengths that turn out to be our own signature strengths. Creativity. People who have the strength of creativity are energized by finding new ways to do things or new ways to think about things. The strength of curiosity. People who have this strength are energized by discovering and exploring new things. So notice I'm not always saying that people are really great at the thing that's their strength. What's important, and really one of the defining pieces that makes it a strength, is that we're energized by doing it. So people who have the strength of curiosity really get motivated by finding out new things. Fairness. People who have the strength of fairness want to make sure that everyone is treated equally, and they're energized by making sure that all people have the opportunity to succeed. I would not be surprised when we're able to look at the results later if a lot of people in this group have the strength of fairness. And that can be one of the most wonderful things about using this assessment on a team or in a group, is that you can take a look and see if there are any patterns in people who are drawn to a certain role or certain activity or certain organization. People who have the strength of forgiveness are understanding and are energized by helping other people recover from their mistakes. They like to give people second chances, and they don't like being angry. When I took the VIA survey for the first time, I was surprised to find that forgiveness was my top strength. It wasn't the one I would have picked for myself, but in hindsight, after realizing that was my strength, I realized how that how forgiveness very much shapes the way that I interact with people in my relationships. And it also made me aware that my daughter was already very aware of that quality in me. So I'm definitely the parent she comes to for the second chance or to explain why something happened that shouldn't have happened. So again, often other people see our strengths before we see them. Gratitude. People who have the strength of gratitude notice the contributions that other people make and genuinely express thanks, and they are energized by doing this. It's important to them. Honesty. People who have the strength of honesty are genuine and sincere. They are energized by telling the truth as they see it. Again, if this turns out to be your number 24 strength or number 23 strength, it won't mean that you're not honest or that you're a dishonest person, but it will mean that you are driven to speak your truth at every opportunity. Sometimes people who have this in their as a signature strength are. Hope is the next strength. People who have the strength of hope see possibilities and opportunities beyond what exists in the current moment, and they're willing to help make those possibilities happen. So it's wonderful to have people with hope around. They help others believe in a better future or outcome. Humility. People who have the strength of humility like serving behind the scenes and sharing the credit with others. And so they're energized by being humble. People who have the strength of humor are energized by laughter, playfulness, and making others smile. They help people see the lighter side of things. Judgment is one of those strengths that people, the word itself has some negative associations, I think, in our culture. So sometimes people are afraid to have this as one of their signature strengths. But again, there's nothing bad on this list of strengths that we're talking about. So you should not be afraid to have any of these as a signature strength. People who have the strength of judgment are energized by thinking things through. So this type of judgment we're associating with really wisdom and open-mindedness. People with judgment are willing to listen to other ideas and opinions, and they like to hear all the sides of a story before making a decision. And they're not afraid to hear all the sides. Kindness. People who have the strength of kindness are energized by being caring and thoughtful. So people with this strength are very motivated to help others and to do good things for them. Again, we are all kind sometimes, but some of us are really driven to act on that kindness. And so often these are the people who don't just see a story on the news and say, oh, that's so sad, but they feel driven to take up a collection for it or to find some way to demonstrate their concern and their care for other people. So again, we're all kind at certain times, but people who have the strength of kindness are really going to need to express that in order to be happy and fulfilled. Leadership. People who have the strength of leadership are energized by getting people to work together to accomplish a goal and to get things done. People with the strength of leadership take responsibility and ownership for accomplishing results. So often these are folks we all lead if we are called to lead or need to lead, but people with the signature strength of leadership might actually need to be in a leadership role or need to be able to take responsibility in a group in order to feel engaged and fulfilled. Love. Of course we all love, but people who have the strength of love, people who have love as a signature strength are really energized by caring deeply about other people and showing them fondness and affection. So people with the strength of love allow others to be close to them and really encourage that. Love of learning. People who have the strength of love of learning really enjoy digging deep into subjects that they care about. They're energized by mastering new skills and developing knowledge and expertise. Perseverance. People who have this strength are energized by sticking with goals and projects until they're completed. They do not like to quit. I wish this strength was higher on my list. But you will find that sometimes, I think sometimes people think I have perseverance, but you can find that strengths can also masquerade as each other, because I think, again, we all can have perseverance in areas in which we have a lot of passion. So I think people who have the perseverance as a defining strength don't want to quit anything that they're doing, because it's just the value of sticking to things. Whereas some of us stick to the things, or we mostly stick to the things that we care about the most. But again, people with this strength don't like to quit anything until the job has been finished. Perspective. People who have the strength of perspective are energized by seeing the big picture and are able to make sense of the world in a way that is helpful to others. They are able to offer wise counsel and good advice. I like the owl icon that they've used for this strength. Prudence. Prudence gets another animal that I love in its icon, the turtle. People who have the strength of prudence are cautious and careful, and they try to make good choices. People with this strength are energized by keeping long-term goals in mind and by thinking about the future impact of their actions. So again, prudence might sound a little bit like perseverance, because it sounds like we're talking about sticking to things, but prudence is really about being careful and cautious, thinking about the worst case that could happen and trying to plan to avoid it. They're the folks who always want to make sure you have a rain plan if you're having an outdoor event. They're the folks who want to make sure that you've really thought about everything that could go wrong and made a plan for it. Self-regulation. People who have the strength of self-regulation are disciplined and able to control their own behavior, emotions, and reactions. So these people are energized by making steady progress towards a goal and resisting temptations. So they are very self-disciplined, able to stick to a task and really enjoy keeping themselves on task and sticking to it. Social intelligence. People who have the strength of social intelligence are aware of the feelings and needs of other people. They have a seemingly an ability to read what other people's needs are in particular situations and respond to them. These folks are energized by understanding what makes other people tick. Spirituality. This strength is really not about having any particular religious belief or faith, but it is about having a strong sense of faith or purpose or meaning in life. These people who have the strength of spirituality are energized by finding a higher purpose in tasks, events, and happenings. So it's very important to them to feel a sense of purpose, to be able to assign a sense of meaning to whatever it is that they're doing. Teamwork. People who have the strength of teamwork work well as a member of a group and feel responsible for helping the group to accomplish its goals. People with this strength are energized by doing their share to help the group be successful. So they really thrive from being part of a team and helping the team get the job done. And last but not least, zest. People who have the strength of zest approach life with excitement, enthusiasm, and energy. People with this strength are energized by being expressive and energetic and by sharing their passions with others. We all show zest sometimes, especially when we are acting on our strengths. We might show zest, but people who have this as a signature strength, it's really a need for them to show up in that way almost all of the time or frequently, often. So now that we have gone through the 24 strengths, how will the VIA survey help you in your work? Using this strength survey will enable you to identify and use your signature strengths so that you can be more effective and fulfilled in your leadership role. Again, you're going to be able to go back and think about your role and think about what you want to accomplish and look for how your strengths can be utilized in the work that you're doing. And if it's not obvious to you, then it becomes your challenge to figure out a way to incorporate your strengths so that you can be successful and fulfilled. But because you're not also only talking about yourself as an individual contributor, you're also talking about people that you want to impact and the people that you want to lead and encourage and inspire. So using this strength will help you begin to see strengths in other people, the people that you'll be working with in your community, and to encourage those strengths and to encourage them to think about the strengths that motivate them and that make them feel fulfilled. And then finally, using this VIA survey will give you a common language, not only during the week of the Leadership Academy, but later in your work to talk about strengths with the people in your community so that, again, people are motivated, people are engaged, and finding a sense of meaning in the work that they're doing. So we just discussed how the VIA survey provides a list of the 24 character strengths that are valued in almost every human culture, how we each have and use all 24 of the character strengths, no matter where they fall on our list, we have and use all of them. The 5 to 7 strengths that we use the most are our signature strengths, and we feel our best and perform our best when we get to use those signature strengths. And finally, being an effective leader involves using your signature strengths to encourage and inspire other people to contribute their signature strengths for a common goal.
Okay, great. This is Emily Graybill again. Thank you, Sonia. And so now we want to open it up for questions. And but before we do that, I wanted to go ahead and answer a few of the questions that were typed into the question box. So thank you, Liz and Angela, for posing the question about the video that Sonia referenced. And there was a link to a brief video about the VIA that was embedded within webinar 1 that Dan Crimmins presented a few weeks ago. And so what we'll do is we'll both post that link on our website, our Leadership Academy website. If we're able to do that, we'll confirm that we can post an outside link on our GSU Leadership Academy, AUCD Leadership Academy website that's housed here within GSU. And then if we're not able to do that, we will then email the link to everyone so that you can watch that brief video that describes the VIA. So just to summarize what I just said, we will definitely email you the link to the VIA video, and then we will see if we are able to post that link on the Leadership Academy website that we have here at Georgia State. Were there any other questions for Sonia based on the content that she presented? And if you do have a question, if you'll use the raise hand feature on your control panel. Okay, great. So I'm just gonna work our way down the hands that are raised, and we'll go ahead and unmute folks who have their hands raised. Just a second. Okay, Angela Martin, I just unmuted you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Sonia, thanks for your presentation. I just have a clear question regarding understanding. So is it the understanding of the VIA approach that if something is not your signature strength, that it's, for lack of a better term, a weakness or something that you should work on, or just working towards your signature strengths and acknowledging that those are where your skills lie, and that you should work from those in practicing leadership? I just want to make sure I understand the premise and the philosophy.
Thanks, Angela. That's a great question. So in the world of VIA and strengths, we wouldn't call it a weakness. We would call it a lesser strength. So again, it's still a strength. If it's number 24, it's still a strength. It's one of your lesser strengths. So you have signature strengths, which are around numbers 1 through 7, 1 through 5, 1 through 7. And then you have middle strengths, which are the ones that you use that come out within certain context that you find yourself in, certain situations. And then your lesser strengths are probably the areas where we all have, where we have to push ourselves to grow. And we have those strengths, but maybe we don't use them. And the beautiful thing about strengths is that you can use your signature strength to help you tackle some of the areas that are lesser strengths for you. So for instance, with me having the strength of forgiveness, I might have to use that signature strength to help me work on self-regulation, which is one of my bottom strengths. And does that help?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Great. Thanks, Angela. Okay, so now Carol, we'll move down to Carol's question. Carol, let me unmute you. Okay, Carol, can you hear me?
Yeah, I did not have a question. That was from before acknowledging that I could hear.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay. So it may work best that if you have a question, if you type it into the question box, I will answer those. So there is a question here about by when do we need to complete the VIA survey? And so we'll ask for you to complete it prior to attending the Academy in Atlanta. So this may be a good time to transition into the logistics part of the webinar, where we discuss how to access the VIA, and then we can open it up for questions after we've briefly covered the logistics. So it looks like it may be easiest if you type your questions into the question box, and then after this brief section on logistics, we'll return to the question box and answer any questions that remain. Okay. So the next set of slides is going to answer the question, how do I take the VIA Character Strengths Survey? So here are the instructions for taking the VIA survey online, and we will send you this information in an email as well. But when you receive it in an email, it won't be the first time you've seen it. So hopefully it will be pretty straightforward. So we have a special link. There's a unique VIA link that was created for the AUCD Leadership Academy. And so you'll go to that link, and then you'll follow these 6 steps, and I'll cover them in more detail in just a minute. But you will register at the link, and then you will click Take Survey. You'll be selecting a certain survey. There are different survey options. You'll select the adult survey. The VIA survey is comprised of 120 questions. However, it goes more quickly than you might think.
Very quickly.
Yes, very quickly. It really does. It's over before you know it. You're thinking about yourself, and that I think helps move the survey along. And then I'll talk a little bit about a consent button that will ask you to click so that you can share your report with the faculty, and then you'll download your report and you'll bring your report to Atlanta. So I'll go over those in a little more detail here. So when you click on the unique link that was created for the AUCD Leadership Academy, this is the screen that you will see. And if you'll see up here in the top right corner, you'll see the AUCD Leadership Academy logo, and that's how you will know that you are on the right page. So first you will register. You'll enter your information here, and then you'll click the blue register button. And then you will be taken to this screen. And again, you'll still see the AUCD Leadership Academy logo, so you'll know you're in the right place. And you'll click Take Survey. So there will be a couple buttons here that you could click. You'll want to click the Take Survey button. And then you'll be asked to select a survey. So there is an adult survey, and then the youth survey that Sonia mentioned that her child has taken, and we'll ask for you to click the adult survey. And then again, click Take Survey. So then you'll answer the 120 questions, and you'll see a progress bar at the bottom of the page. So you'll be able to see how far along you are in the question answering, and you'll move from question page to question page by clicking this next page button at the bottom right. Then after you've completed the 120 questions, you'll see this screen, and this screen is actually not connected to the AUCD Leadership Academy. It is an optional survey that contributes information to a research project that the authors of VIA are conducting. So this is totally optional for you. And again, it's in no way linked to the AUCD Leadership Academy. So you can leave all of these questions blank, or you can fill them in. That's completely up to you. However, then you'll be taken to another screen, and we will ask you to provide consent on this screen here. So we are really excited to be able to review the VIA reports that you complete that will help us make decisions potentially about how to form groups during the week of the Academy or for the year following the Academy. And then also our review of the reports is going to help us as we prepare the content and discussions related to strengths-based leadership during the Academy. So if you've seen the schedule for the Academy, you've noticed that we have one morning dedicated to thinking about your strengths as they contribute to your leadership. And so we will have had access to the reports that have been generated based on your completion of the VIA survey, and we'll be able to use those to help us prepare for that morning. So when you reach this page titled Consent Form, click I agree to have my information and my results shared with the AUCD Leadership Academy, and then click Continue. So then after you have done that, then you'll download your report. And what you will be shown is a list of the 24 VIA strengths that will be rank ordered based on your VIA survey results. And so at the bottom of this screen, you'll see down here, click Download Your Results. And then you'll be able to download, save, and or print your list of strengths. So then what we will have access and what we will provide you when you arrive in Atlanta is a really detailed 20-plus page report of your strengths. And so again, we'll prepare those for you to receive when you arrive in Atlanta, but you will have information about the sort of order of your strengths, your signature strengths, or your lesser strengths that Sonia talked about. All right. And then bring your report to Atlanta. You can bring it electronically, you can bring it on paper, and when you arrive in Atlanta, we will have your full detailed, I believe it's a 26-page report on your strengths waiting for you when you arrive. Okay, so again, here are the instructions for how to complete the VIA. You'll go to this unique link and you'll register and click Take Survey, select the adult survey, answer the questions, and do consent to share your results with the faculty, download your brief report, and bring your report to Atlanta. All right, are there any questions about the logistics? Okay, so there are some additional questions that have been posed to Sonia, so
Sure.
we'll go ahead and take time to answer those now. So the first one, it looks like this: can you have multiple strengths?
Not only can you have multiple strengths, but you do have multiple strengths. And part of what makes your strength profile so unique is that your strengths interact with each other. And so I've mentioned already that forgiveness is one of my top strengths, but it's also influenced by what else is in my top 5. So how forgiveness looks in me as a signature strength might show up differently than the way that it looks in you, depending on what your other signature strengths are. So again, you do have multiple strengths. They impact each other, and part of the richness of this report and the conversations that we'll be able to have with each other and that you'll be able to have with your peers will be in exploring how your particular combination of strengths works together to make you who you are and to create the best environment and contribution for you.
Great, and it looks like there's a few more questions. Sonia, does the ranking of our strengths change over time as we progress through life experiences? You mentioned your 10-year-old had bravery as a signature strength. However, does that ever change with bravery becoming a lesser strength when maybe she's 30?
Absolutely. It can change, but so I've taken this a couple of times, and what I have found, and it's not just my opinion, also the research from the VIA Institute validates this as well, and they talk about this. You will have about maybe 3 to 4 strengths that are just a part of you, and they will always show up in your signature strengths. And then sometimes the strengths around number 6 or 7 move around. Even number 4, it just depends. So there's some strengths that come out because of a particular stage of life, what you're going through, what you're focusing on at that time. But there are certainly 2 or 3 strengths that are consistently a part of who you are. And I have found, for instance, in my own life, that forgiveness and humor and curiosity are the ones that are always there for me. And then there's some others that they're still near the top, but they move around. What's less likely to happen is that something that's your number 24 is ever going to be a signature strength for you. So it's very doubtful, no matter how many times that I take the VIA survey, that self-regulation will ever be a signature strength for me. I can dream about it, but it's probably not going to happen. I hope that helps answer your question.
Okay. So if I've already completed the survey, can I send you my results or go back in somehow to give you consent to receive that information? So that's a great question. And if you're up for taking it again, we have access to the sort of professional package for the Academy, which means that we'll be able to provide you with a very detailed report. So if you have access to that very detailed report, I would say yes, you can send that to us, and we can work with that. If what you took before was the free version that provides a briefer report, or the me version, I believe, which also provides a briefer report, it may be helpful to you to go back in and retake it using the unique link provided through the Academy. Now, if you do that, it will involve using a different email address, because the VIA website does save your email address, and it can be challenging to go back in and retake it with a similar email address. It's not impossible, but
If you do retake it, though, you can be one of our case studies. We would love to see how your strengths have changed or not,
yes.
From the last time you took it until now. So
Yes. Great question. And if you have further questions about that, feel free to email us. Is there a correlation between the VIA and other profiles, such as the Myers-Briggs?
Yes, and there you will find some of it, I think, on the VIA site. There are links to research articles in which the VIA has been compared and used alongside other strengths assessments and personality profiles. As a coach, I often like to use more than one assessment or survey with people, just because it's like those mirrors in a dressing room that allow you to see yourself from different angles. And so, because it's a self-assessment tool, hopefully the different assessments that you take will reinforce each other, and that you're not showing up wildly different in different assessments that you're taking. But they can offer different assessments can offer just kind of a nuance, just slight differences, or help it bring to light different aspects of yourself, your character, your personality that can be useful. But I have found I like to use MBTI. I like to use Strengths Finders. I love VIA because it's such a great survey for all ages and really across cultures. And usually most people already have an understanding of what the strengths are. But it can be really interesting to compare your VIA results to other results and see where the connection points are.
Great, thanks. And then so the next question, what if I need support taking the survey? So absolutely, if there is anyone who has questions as you're accessing the survey, please let us know, and we can provide any support that is needed when taking the survey. The next question is, can you email the link to the survey? Absolutely. So after this webinar, we will send the link to everyone. That information that was on the previous slide. Here we go. This slide, we will send that to everyone in an email, so it's easy to access. How soon will we get copies of the PowerPoint? So we can also send that immediately after this webinar. And I think I used your link when I took the test, but I'm not sure. Can you confirm for me whether you received the report? Yes, absolutely. We can go in the Leadership Academy account and confirm who has or has not taken the VIA through that unique link. So all really good questions. Are there any other questions that people have? Okay, well, thank you everyone for being on the webinar today, and thank you for your engagement and your questions and your thoughts, and you'll hear from us very soon with information that you need to move forward with taking the VIA. All right, have a great day.